Welcome back to Bengals Daily, part of the Fan Arch Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dave Olson, and we're going to be having the sleepy slumber party version of Bengals Daily here today. I'm going to walk through the 2026 NFL Draft. I heard Mo Egger do a bit on one of the other podcasts today, and actually sort of appreciated the way he framed it, talking about his dream, his nightmare scenario for the 2026 NFL Draft. So we're going to talk about the type of sleep that I will be having depending on how the Cincinnati Bengals draft in 2026. Whether I'm going to have a nice deep sleep, I'm going to get some rest, a solid rest. Could have been better, but I'm feeling well rested. Restless, so just on the other side of average, tossing and turning. I got a little sleep. Not great, still feeling a bit tired the next day. And then worst case, 5-alarm fire, nightmare scenario. I couldn't sleep. Someone was chasing me in my dreams. And I woke up and the reality was actually worse than my nightmares type of scenario for the Cincinnati Bengals. But first, your fun fact. This one, pretty well known, but worth remembering, worth reiterating. Joe Burrow, currently the highest completion percentage in NFL history. Goodness gracious, I'm feeling sleepy, I guess. Completion percentage in NFL history at 68.6%. Among any quarterback with at least 1,500 passing attempts. I wonder if there's a quarterback out there who's got like 10 attempts, completed them all. Wonder why the completion percentage kind of threshold is so high. I guess you want a starting quarterback who's actually been out there for a lot of games. So anyway, Joe Burrow is really good. Completion percentage leader in NFL history. And worth mentioning, he's been one of the least blitzed quarterbacks. Does that make me happy, though? He's still getting pressured a lot, but is not blitzed as frequently because teams have to drop more in coverage. You can't blitz him. Maybe that makes me more sad. Burrow's not getting blitzed that much, but he's still getting pressured a lot. But the offensive line from last year held its own. And if they can stay healthy going into 2026, actually could be a dream scenario. The offensive line, not something that's keeping me up at night with the Cincinnati Bengals anymore. So anyway, the draft now just a couple of weeks away, I think. Let me do some math. Yeah, about 2 weeks away? 2-ish weeks away, depending on when you're listening to this podcast. So we'll get another week of breakdowns, and then we'll get some hopefully some news stories leading up to the draft about a week from then. Still some targets to break down, positional groups to break down. You've heard a lot of the common names here at this point, and you'll hear some more of them in this edition. Some of the nightmare scenarios, some of the great scenarios, some of the ones that would make me sad to think about the Bengals getting. But just thinking about it, I mean, we have done a lot of talking, and we are finally on the run up to the 2026 NFL Draft. Let's find out, though, what kind of sleeper we're going to be after the 2026 NFL Draft. So let's move into to the best case scenario. I talked about this maybe a couple of episodes ago, but I'm not going to go super heavy into stats this time. I'm just going to kind of go off of vibes based on what I've heard. So this is the scenario where I'm getting the deepest sleep possible. I am kicking my feet. I am on top of the world. I've never felt more rested in my life. I don't use the what's it called? I don't use like a Whoop or anything like that, but if I did, I'm having like the best recovery sleep of my life. So anyway, best case scenario. So I think this is something that Peter Schrager sort of hinted at. in his mock draft, and it's actually something I can't get out of my mind. If somehow the Chiefs go with a wide receiver at 9, any non-defensive player at 9, and the Browns also go non-defensive player earlier on in the draft, that mock has actually got me really excited. At that point, you're talking about Mansour Delane, Jermod McCoy, Caleb Downs. Bain has been mocked to the Saints a lot, the Chiefs a lot. So in round 1, what's putting me to a nice deep sleep, what's getting me into that initial REM cycle would be probably those 4. I mean, God, Sonny Styles, you can't have it all. So let's be fair here. Let's try to err in the world of being reasonable. If say Downs, one of the cornerbacks, and Sonny Styles fall to the Bengals, I'm actually a little further out on linebacker in round 1. If Sonny Styles is there, I think you take him. I am having a nice deep sleep at that point. I think I'm getting into a nice deep REM cycle if the Bengals select Downs, Delane, or McCoy at 10. I'm feeling thrilled in round 1 if they go and any one of those 3 players. Delane, McCoy, Downs. Their secondary suddenly gets really scary. What would continue that sleep would be a round 2 linebacker. C.J. Allen, Jacob Rodriguez, one of the favorites in round 2. Early round 2, probably a little bit early. Late round 2, probably a little bit late. I don't mind the Bengals looking for him early in round 2. I am sleeping away, kicking my little toesies if the Bengals are able to snag one of those 3 secondary players in round 1, and then address linebacker in round 2 or round 3. There's some good targets in round 3 that we've talked about on the podcast a little bit. Golday out of Cincinnati, I think, could be a later day 2 pick. And also finding a way to sneak in edge. I think a round 1 secondary, around 2 or 3 edge, and around 2 or 3 linebacker, and I'm sleeping through the night. And I want round 1 to be an impact player. I don't want any of these project picks, and I could talk about this for hours, but I am sleeping through the night. Never been better rested if the Bengals can address their defensive needs with players that have college production and also have growth potential. Give me one of the 3 secondary players. Give me Sonny Styles if he's there. And then in round 2, give me the best linebacker available, or there's some good edge rushers out there that I don't mind looking at. I think I don't know where the Penn State Dennis Sutton, I don't know where he's being mocked nowadays. I really enjoyed the tape that I saw from him. I don't know if he's round 2 or 3. I got to admit. The Penn State guy, I've liked what I've seen out of him. I think there's some options for some good players day 2, day 3 at edge as well. So that's my deep sleep. A stud impact player. Give me one of the extremely talented cornerbacks. Fill the linebacker need. Address edge. 1, 2, 3. I'm feeling great. And then post free agency, maybe do something for the defensive line, more of the interior of the defensive line. And honestly, I think the Bengals are slated pretty well. So let's talk about a solid rest. So it's not the perfect sleep, but I'm having an okay night. This is what I think is probably going to end up happening. The sort of chalk scenario as we discuss it. I think Sonny Styles is going to be gone. Ruben Bain's going to be gone. Mansour Delane may be gone to the Saints at 8. Let's say, for the sake of having a decent night of sleep, the Chiefs do end up going somewhere else that's not defense. Let's say that Schrager is right. They do go wide receiver, or any other non-cornerback. Jermod McCoy falls to the Bengals at 10, or Caleb Downs falls at 10. You can see you're still getting a pretty good night of sleep. I like where the Bengals are, given what the teams in front of them need. I'm big on McCoy. The reason it's not a perfect slumber is there's a slight undertone of injury there. If healthy, maybe the highest ceiling of any cornerback in the draft. If healthy. Elite player. I maybe favor Delane just because of the health. So maybe there's a little, there's a wince, a little twitch in your sleep. Less options is what makes this a little bit less of a restful night. Jermod McCoy, round 1. Going into round 2, I think a similar result. Linebacker would still, maybe it's really that round 1 pick that's setting me up for a good night's sleep here. Linebacker at 41 still makes me happy. I would have a worse night's sleep if the Bengals end up reaching heavily on another day 2 linebacker. And I say another. I think Demetrius Knight at the time was sort of mocked somewhere in that range. Knowing what we know now, obviously a bit of a tough pick. I think Knight is going to develop. I'm less hopeful about Carter. He's a 4th round rookie. Let's get another round 2 or 3 linebacker in there and see if we can help. I would have much preferred something else, a veteran in free agency. But maybe something at 41 for linebacker would make me feel a little bit better. Linebacker dropping to round 3. You guys, if you've listened to me, I'm a little bit lower on linebacker than maybe most people are. So maybe I'm having a slightly worse night of sleep if we're going with a round 3 linebacker, depending on who falls. I'm big on Rodriguez out of Texas Tech. So that's sort of where that line draws. We're going with a round 3 linebacker, hinging our hopes on another stint of rookie development in the middle of our defense. I'm having a good night of sleep. A little concern, a little twitch because I'm wondering how Jermod McCoy is going to be in the NFL. Is he going to stay healthy? But I'm still sleeping through the night. I'm waking up recovered. I'm thinking, all right, we got a stud cornerback, and that will allow the other rookies on our defense, now year 2 players, to develop a little bit better. So let's go on the other side of average, where I'm tossing and turning a bit. I'm not as well rested. The opposite of what we just discussed, where I am getting some sleep, but I'm waking up still feeling pretty tired. This is where Delane is gone, Jermod McCoy is gone, maybe Caleb Downs is gone. I don't know, though. See, this is why this is so hard for me. I'm trying to find scenarios where one of these studs, doesn't fall to the Bengals. Like, if Downs goes, like, in this scenario, it's Downs. It's Downs to the Bengals. So maybe, if it's Downs, I'm still thrilled. It's maybe at a position of slightly less need because you signed Brian Cook. But Downs is an absolute utility knife of a player who's elite and versatile. So, if you end up staring at Downs, maybe I'm sad. Maybe I'm a little more restless because of the missed opportunity. I'm sad because of the David Baileys, the Sonny Styles, the Mansour Delanes, the Jermod McCoys being gone. I'm a little restless because of what could have been. But God, I'm still getting some sleep because you've got Caleb Downs. This is gonna be where, rounds 2 and 3 everything can fall apart. Say the Bengals go like offensive tackle in round 2. We need offensive line help. We need health, right? We've got a solid line, but God, this defense needs help. I think if I'm not sure, and we'll discuss the nightmare scenario. If things go as they should, I'm not sure there's much the Bengals can do at 10 that's outside of their control. I'm not sure there's things 1 through 9 that can go wrong that'll keep me up at night. Unless somehow literally teams 2 through 9 all go defense, and you're left wondering what the Bengals do with what's left available at 10 is where maybe I'm left rolling around a little bit. So even in the toss and turn scenario, you're getting, say, Caleb Downs. Maybe it's a scenario where the Bengals are super high on Peter Woods. I don't think that's the case anymore, to be clear. I think in a scenario where both cornerbacks are gone and you're reaching for something like offensive tackle in round 2, because you do need a swing tackle, but you still have glaring holes on the defense. That's where I'm still sleeping through the night, but I'm awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, kind of woken out of my sleep. Oh God, did we do the right thing? So sort of on the opposite side of average. Let's talk about worst possible case scenario. Sonny Styles gone. Delane gone to I don't know, the Giants. Browns take Bain. Saints take McCoy. Chiefs take Downs. All the Bengals targets are gone. David Bailey also picked up somewhere else in the top 10. A scenario where you're looking at like Carnell Tate, Spencer Fano, Jeremiah Love. Am I awake? So, like, say Mendoza, Bailey, Love, Downs, Styles, Delane, Bain. Mendoza, 1. Bailey, 2. This is not in order, just thinking out loud. Mendoza, 1. Reese, 2. Bailey, 3. Love, 4. Downs, 5. Styles, 6. Delane, 7. Bain, 8. I'm probably missing someone there. Who am I missing? Cornerback, did I say McCoy? If I didn't say McCoy, maybe McCoy. A scenario where literally it's a Mendoza, and then I probably didn't say McCoy. Mendoza, and then every other defensive target somehow goes. No team is reaching for offensive tackles. No team is reaching for wide receivers. Not reaching, but taking wide receivers. That is my absolute nightmare. I don't think that's going to happen. But that is the nightmare. I again, just saying that seems far-fetched. I think the Bengals are going to be in a great spot at 10 with one of these corners, potentially Downs, potentially Bain. Here's what's actually the nightmare scenario for me at 10. I've seen this floating around, and this would be such the Bengals move. And I don't know if this is actually rooted in anything. I think there was an insider. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to give him credit. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. A scenario where the Bengals say trade back to 11 or 12, and then take Kendrick Falk. That is trading back, fine, to take Falk, who, in my opinion, is sort of Shamar Stewart V2. That would keep me up at night. Trading back for, yet again, a not tape-heavy edge rusher. Good run defender, but needs a lot of development. That would be a defense that still needs help at linebacker, still needs help at cornerback. You had some good free agent signings. But again, the Bengals are entering a draft year where the draft has to hit. Has to hit. So, of course, the nightmare scenario is it's Mendoza plus all defense. And then true nightmare scenario, I'm talking cold sweat, I may never sleep again, as that happens. Mendoza all defense, Bengals trade back as a result. And then they get someone like Falk a little bit later on. Let's end with the good news. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the reality is you look at the draft board, at least a couple offensive linemen are going to go. Jeremiah Love would still be sitting there at 10. The Bengals don't need that. That's a luxury pick. Maybe you just swing for Jeremiah Love. Maybe what you trade back for in that scenario is enough. Pick up something on day 2 to get some of those great middle round opportunity. The Bengals, for sucking last year, put themselves in a good spot this year. I think the reality is that there's more opportunities for me to have a decent night of sleep after day 2 than there are for me to have nightmares for things that are outside of the Bengals' control. Yeah, just draft downs. Just draft one of the cornerbacks. Easy for me to say. God knows what Duke Tobin and the rest of the Bengals front office are cooking up. We'll have to wait and see just a couple of weeks from now when the 2026 NFL Draft kicks off. Appreciate you listening to this episode of Bengals Daily. Next week, we're going to dive more into prospects, Bengals needs, hopefully some drama unfolding. Still nothing on the Dexter Lawrence front. Maybe we'll have some news there as well. I've been Dave Olson. We'll catch you next time.